Good evening to one and all. Today, me, Nimita Aksa Pradeep, and my co-author Nauran Siddiq will be presenting our paper titled Anti-Conversion Laws, Encroachment or Safeguard of Religious Liberty. While the Constitution of India, on the face of it, guarantees the freedom to practice and propagate any religion of one's choice, many a times bona fide persuasion is mistaken to be forced conversion. Laws of that nature make the process of conversion unreasonably complex. Through this paper, the major focus will be put on analyzing whether anti-conversion laws infringe the fundamental rights of citizens, the evolution and current existence of such laws, the international position of anti-conversion laws in the present day, and other related factors that govern anti-conversion laws in the country. During the colonial era in India, numerous Hindus converted to Christianity so as to escape the oppressions of the caste system. Though Britishers readily accepted and even encouraged such conversions, rulers of the princely states, most of whom were Hindus, viewed them as a threat to Hinduism and to their own power. Due to these reasons, the Raigarh State Act, Patna Freedom of Religion Act, Surguja State Apostasy Act, Udaipur State Anti-Conversion Act, and many other similar statutes were promulgated. In addition to this, after independence, several legislations such as the Indian Conversion, Regulation and Registration Bill, Backward Communities Religion Protection Bill, and Freedom of Religion Bill were proposed in the Parliament. However, none of these bills became acts as they were dropped soon after they were proposed due to lack of support in the Parliament. Despite this, the need for laws pertaining to conversion persisted in India. Several states, hence, took matters into their own hands and enacted laws in this regard. Article 25 of the Constitution of India provides for freedom of conscience and right to practice, profess and propagate any religion of one's choice. The only exceptions to this are public order, health and the moral values of the citizens. Right to conscience means choosing the religious beliefs that one wants to follow. Right to practice one's religion means right to follow any religion of one's choice, and right to profess one's religion refers to one's right to portray the essence of one's religion to the general public. The same was reiterated in the case of Ratilal Panchand Gandhi versus State of Bombay. Article 18 of UDHR guarantees right to freedom of thought, conscience and religion, in which freedom to convert religion or belief is also incorporated. Article 18 Clause 1 of ICCPR also states that freedom of religion of the people is a basic right that cannot be infringed even during situations of internal war, conflict, etc. With due regard to these provisions, persuasion as a reason for a person's conversion cannot be considered as undue influence or coercion. Article 18 Clause 2 of ICCPR also states that no person shall be coerced to follow any particular religion. Also, taking into consideration Article 19(1)(a), that is, freedom of speech and expression, persuading another or communicating to another person about one's religion in a bona fide manner rightly comes under the ambit of the said article. When the Parliament of India failed to enact any anti-conversion laws, even after three attempts, the legislative assemblies of several states took matters into their own hands and enacted Freedom of Religion Acts. The maximum punishment prescribed by the Orissa Freedom of Religion Act 1967 is 1 year imprisonment, 5,000 rupees fine or both together. The act, however, stipulates that if women, minors or members of the SC or ST are forcibly converted, then the punishment would be enhanced to 2 years imprisonment and 10,000 rupees fine. The Madhya Pradesh Freedom of Religion Act 1968 prescribes 1 year imprisonment, 5,000 rupees fine or both together for default of its provisions, same as the previous act. The punishment prescribed by the Arunachal Pradesh Freedom of Religion Act 1978, however, differs from the previous two acts. As per this act, those individuals who are found guilty of having forcibly converted others may be conferred up to 2 years imprisonment and 10,000 rupees fine. However, despite the enactment of the act more than 4 decades ago, due to lack of subsidiary rules required for its implementation, the same has not yet been enforced. Chhattisgarh retained the Freedom of Religion Act of Madhya Pradesh even after the partition of the state. The Chhattisgarh Freedom of Religion Act 1968 hence has the same provisions as the Madhya Pradesh Freedom of Religion Act. The Gujarat Freedom of Religion Act 2003 prescribes 3 years imprisonment and 50,000 rupees fine for default of its provisions. The Act, however, stipulates that if women, minors, or members of the SC or ST are forcibly converted, then the maximum punishment would be enhanced to 4 years imprisonment and 1 lakh rupees fine. The maximum punishment prescribed by the Himachal Pradesh Freedom of Religion Act 2006 is 2 years imprisonment and 25,000 rupees fine. The Act, however, stipulates that if any individual forcibly converts women, minors, or members of the SC or ST, then the maximum punishment would be enhanced to 3 years imprisonment and 50,000 rupees fine. The maximum punishment prescribed by the Jharkhand Freedom of Religion Act 2017 is 3 years imprisonment and 50,000 rupees fine. The Act, however, stipulates that if women, minors, or members of the SC or ST are forcibly converted, then the maximum punishment would be enhanced to 4 years imprisonment and 1 lakh rupees fine. As per the Uttarakhand Freedom of Religion Act 2018, those who are found guilty of having forcibly converted another individual may be conferred imprisonment ranging from 1 to 5 years and 50,000 rupees fine. The Act, however, stipulates that if women, minors, or members of the SC or ST are forcibly converted, then the punishment conferred may range from 2 to 7 years imprisonment along with fine. Now, the rest of the presentation will be continued by Naurin. Thank you.
Continuing with what my co-speaker has spoke, I'm going to speak about the judicial position of anti-conversion laws. The Indian Supreme Court has in many cases interpreted the ambit of Article 25 and the constitutionality of anti-conversion laws. In the case of Yulita Hyde versus State of Orissa, the constitutionality of the Orissa Freedom of Religion Act was challenged. Here the court interpreted the word inducement was vague and ambiguous and is protected under Article 25 Clause 1. The court stated that the act was liable to be struck down and held unconstitutional. In the case Ratilal versus State of Bombay, the Honorable Supreme Court brought into light the distinction between conversion and propagation. The court said that no one can go through forced conversions and this is against public order. In the case of Reverend Stanislaus versus State of Madhya Pradesh, the Supreme Court gave rise to a landmark judgment. In this case, the father, who was a Catholic priest, he challenged the constitutionality of the Madhya Pradesh anti-conversion law and stated that the state legislature does not have the right to make such laws. The Supreme Court stated that no one can purposefully convert another person through inducement. It goes against the freedom of conscience provided by the Constitution and thus the act was valid. Moving on to the international position of anti-conversion laws, in Nepal, they have the right to profess, practice, and propagate religion, which is subject to some restrictions. Anti-conversion laws are also a part of it. The Criminal Code of Nepal states that no religion can be propagated in such a way that the dignity of another religion is undermined, and no one can forcefully convert another person to his religion. The punishment for the same shall be period of 3 years imprisonment, and if already the person has been converted, it shall be 6 years. And if the person is a non-Nepali, then he shall be deported from Nepal after the punishment term. In Bhutan, Article 7.4 of the Constitution guarantees freedom of religion, thought, and conscience, but the same provision states that no person should be compelled to convert to another religion through inducement. In 2011, the Penal Code was amended and Section 463A was brought into force, which states that in case of compulsion by any person, he shall be, through any coercion or inducement, he shall be guilty of forced religious conversion. Also, Section 5G of the Religious Organizations Act 2017 states that religious organizations do not have the right to compel any person to convert by by inducement or rewards. Myanmar, under the influence of the Committee of the Protection of Nationality and Religion, headed by Buddhist monks, the four race and religion protection laws were adopted. So, under this law, if any citizen wants to convert, he has to get the approval from the Registration Board for Religious Conversion. An interview is taken and 90 days period is given to study the religion, and even after that period, if the applicant wants to convert, then the board issues a certificate of conversion. Also, no person can convert to any religion with an intention to degrade, insult, destroy, or do anything to another religion. Forced conversions are also banned. There are other countries like Pakistan where anti-conversion laws are present in an implicit form rather than an explicit form in the form of a statute. Moving on with the critical analysis of our paper, Forced conversion is a crime and can hence be not justified in any manner. So, in this regard, the promulgation of anti conversion laws by state legislative assemblies is perfectly justified. Furthermore, under Article 245 of the Constitution, it empowers the Parliament and state legislative assemblies to make such laws, and Article 246 provides the Parliament and state legislature to make such laws under subjects of Union list and state list, and also the concurrent list. Despite religion not finding a place in any of the above mentioned lists, the Parliament has the power to legislate on it using residuary legislative powers. State legislative assemblies also have the power as this comes under the uh, limitations of public order, morality, and health, which are subjects of the state list. However, on closer examination, we can find that these anti-conversion laws they favor some religions over the other, and this undermines the religious liberty guaranteed by the constitution and contravene the fundamental rights. Article 25 of the Constitution guarantees right to freedom of conscience as well as right to practice, profess, and propagate the religion of one's own choice. And Article 19 guarantees right to freedom of speech and expression. Furthermore, the preamble of the Constitution also states that India is a secular republic. Though right to convert one's religion is not particularly mentioned under any of this, it can come under the ambit of religious liberty. Also, Article 18 of both UDHR and ICCPR specifically states that the right to freedom of religion is also included in right to freedom of conversion. However, right to convert one's religion draws from right to freedom of conscience rather than right to propagate. So, no one can force another person to convert into a religion when it is behest of his own will. Um, However, if an individual still wants to convert his religion on the basis of individual wishes, he may do so under the exercise of right to freedom of conscience. Despite the existence of so many provisions to ensure religious liberty, religious minorities are still targeted through harassment, etc. The allegation of having forcefully converted some other person shows that such irregularities exist. So, for example, in May 2017, 8 Christians were accused of abducting and forcibly converting 60 children, and they were arrested by the police under the Madhya Pradesh Freedom of Religion Act 1968. Later, they were acquitted as the parents of the children stated that such an incident did not happen. So this shows that this and similar incidents shows that the anti-conversion laws are failing at the purpose for which they have been promulgated. Um, Also, the Uttarakhand Freedom of Religion Act 2018 exempts return to one's ancestral religion from the definition of conversion. Also, Rajasthan Freedom of Religion Bill also has the same provision where reconversion is not considered. In such laws, it discriminates against some persons and religion, and this violates Article 14 of the Constitution. Thus, under Article 13, Clause 1, several provisions of these anti-conversion laws can be said to be null and void. Another aspect to be taken into consideration is that anti-conversion laws define certain terms such as force, inducement, allurement, and fraudulent means in a quite broad manner, and this gives huge scope for interpretation from the part of courts. Such broad definition poses the risk of infringing the right to propagate. Members of this religion would hence not be able to promote their religion due to fear of their propagation being construed as force. This may hamper the right to convert one's religion. For example, fraudulent means has been defined as misrepresentation or fraudulent contrivance. Such a broad definition poses the risk of infringing the right to propagate. In such a scenario, converts may claim that their conversion had been misinterpretation merely because their experience did not correspond to their expectations. Fear of people alleging misrepresentation and fraud hence deter people from propagating their religion in the true sense. This goes against the right to convert one's religion as prospective converts are deprived of the true picture of the religion to which they wish to convert. Through the course of the paper, these suggestions can be derived by us. So, the first one is that it can be noted that the state anti conversion laws have varying provisions, and this leads to extreme non uniformity in the legislations and unwanted arbitrariness. So, in order to curb this, the union should prescribe a set of rules or guidelines through which the state legislatures should make laws regarding anti conversion. The next point is that there are many unreasonable terms and conditions in such anti-conversion laws, which makes unwanted complexities in the process of converting one's own religion. Such discrepancies should be removed through necessary amendments to achieve the real objective of the law.